is a bunch of rules. If the formula, so I gave you one already. I gave you what's known as the power rule. So that this times that, knock the power down by 1 is called the power rule. And that one I didn't call a rule because it's the one that you see most frequently. But the next question people had is, what if my formula doesn't look like a power? What do I do? Well, if you're a math major, you have to prove all these formulas. You're not math majors, so you just get to use these formulas. The first thing, if you go look at a traditional Algebra 2 book, they'll start with lines, then they'll go to polynomials, then they'll go to what we call rational functions, where you have a polynomial over a polynomial, and then they might make that even more complicated. I know that because I'm helping my son with Algebra 2, so I can see the order. So that's the next thing that you kind of see. So I have my students usually memorize this in words. I've experimented around and tried words or formulas. They tend to get it right more frequently if they learn it in words. So commit this to memory. Say it over and over. If you want a seat on the shuttle, mumble it. People will move aside for you. Works for me. So here's how I have it, you remember it. Bottom times the derivative of the top minus top times the derivative of the bottom, all over the bottom squared. And the way you remember this is bottom comes first. Just commit that to memory. And I'm going to show you with an example how to apply it. In this example that I'm going to show you, I made a mistake. We're going to clean it up this round. I saw it in the 1020 class, and we graphed it, and that's where we saw the mistake. And we're going to graph the mistaken answer, the wrong answer, on the same graph so you can see how I know it's a mistake and how I can hunt down the fact of where my mistake was made. But let's see if you catch the mistake. So this is how the formula looks like with just formulas. But usually what I see with the formulas is that students will accidentally turn around the F's and the G's, because it's a mindless formula that you're never going to remember. So it seems like the words seem to have students have it like in their head better. So here's an example. You have a top and you have a bottom. The top is 2x squared minus 5x. The bottom is x squared plus 1. Step 1 is to identify what's on top, what's on bottom. Just write it out. That's bottom, that's top. These are what I call bookkeeping questions. It's nothing that you're not using your mind. You're just keeping track of. It's bookkeeping. It's accounting. And it's boring. It's not very interesting. There's nothing tantalizing about this. Bottom is x squared plus 1. Top is 2x squared minus 5x. Then find the derivative of the top and the bottom. 2x is the derivative of the bottom, because it's x squared plus 1. That's what you did today on today's quiz. And the derivative of the top is 4x minus 5. And now you're going to see a mistake. So then you plug it into the formula. Bottom times the derivative of the top minus top times the derivative of the bottom, all over the bottom squared. Does anybody see where my mistake is?
Yeah,
The 2x. The first 2x is not the derivative of the top. This is what I call a transcription error. It's derivative of the top I have right above, which is on a previous sheet for me. I didn't look at the previous sheet and transcripted an error. It's called transcription error. This is why I call this bookkeeping. So sometimes students said, well, I got almost all of it right. It's about bookkeeping. That's what this is all about. So you have to kind of like make sure that even this careful, I still made a mistake. So right here, it should be 4x minus 5. And we're going to put the correct answers in as we go. So I need someone with a calculator to plug in stuff into this formula right here. So this should be here. Pop it open. Come on. In the parentheses should be 4x minus 5. So I'm going to post this on Canvas. All you have to do is click that little comment button and it'll open up and it'll tell you that it's supposed to be 4x minus 5. All right, so I went forward anyways, not realizing I'd made an error. Notice that I have all the pieces lined up. I was so careful, and I still made a mistake. There were definitely students when I was taking, actually the worst I probably did was in 3rd grade, 4th grade, around that. I think those teachers would fall over if they knew I got a PhD in math, because I'm terrible with numbers. But then in these kind of classes, I don't think those teachers would have picked me out either, because I kept making little bookkeeping errors. So there's some students who are really good at bookkeeping and they get 100, and I was not good at bookkeeping, so I'd get a 97 or 95, something, just a few dings here and there for the little mistakes that I made. There's my formula. Now, how can you use this formula to do something with it? Well, it's the slope. It gives you the slope. So if you have to find the equation of the tangent line of the curve at x equals minus 1 for that rational function, that formula you just calculated, can we do that after class, guys? We've been doing that for like 20 minutes now. So after you take the derivative, you would want to plug in that point into all the formulas you have before. So you find y1 the same way you used to find y1. You plug in the value of x1 into the original formula, crank it out, and you get the y1. The m, here's the error. The m is incorrect, right? I have an incorrect formula here. So right here, you would want to put, instead of 2 times negative 1, you would want to put 4 times negative 1. Was it minus 5? I can't remember. I have to go back up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask someone to crank out this correct number now with 4 times minus 1 plus 5 in the parentheses. I guess we can do it on math way. Just so math way is kind of clean, so we can write it on that. It's like taking a Uzi to math, right, to do arithmetic on this thing. Oh, I don't want to do this right now. Somebody has to do it on their calculator. We should just punch in the right answer. It just takes too long. Math way is too long. Takes too long. So this number is going to come out wrong. I got an answer of 3 for my slope. That is incorrect. It should be what you get when you put in 4 times minus 1 minus 5 in for this. Who's good at their calculator? Crunch this out with, instead of the 2 times minus 1, crunch out the number. At least a couple of you try it. Greg, you've got your calculator out in front of you. You've got your calculator out in front of you. Crank it out and see if we can triangulate and get at least 3 of you to come out with the same answers. And then we'll have the correct answer put here. It shouldn't be 3.
So we're plugging in.
Instead of this one, you're going to plug in where it says minus 1 squared plus 1, that's going to be 2, right?
Okay.
But then instead of 2 times minus 1, you're going to put negative 4 minus 5, which is negative 9. So you should have 2 times negative 9 for the first group. And you won't get 3 as your final answer. I was like, wow, I made up this problem and I still got a nice answer. That's really, as you know, rare. You guys got chatties in you today. I sympathize. I'm usually the one sitting in class getting in trouble like that. I always got that on my report card. Talks too much. Do you guys want to talk about the test now?
Yes.
You guys can talk to me right after class, right? If there's a discrepancy on the exam, we can look at it. It's nothing to sit there and get worried about and upset about and heighten and commiserate. Look at Louis sitting next to you. He's just quietly just like, oh, whatever, it's done. If I have someone to talk to her about, I'll talk to her after. Because, you keep going like this, by the end of that, it's going to be key the car. That's what's going to happen. That's what girls do. They sit and talk and talk and talk. It just becomes a blown up thing. They're giving dirty looks and evil eyes, scratching the eyes out, keying the car. got 2 girls. Not only am I a girl, I got 2 girls. And I came out of a family of 5 girls. It's like a sorority.
God bless your parents.
It's lucky we got out of there without an eating disorder, and I'm not quite sure I don't have one. You know all that stuff that happens in school where one girl gets targeted? That would happen at home too. One girl would get targeted for the day, and everybody would either not look at her and ignore her, or make a mean face when she walks around the corner. I know all of it. Then we commiserate, and whatever sins she had, they became big, huge sins. And it might have just been that she borrowed her curling iron. That might have been it. By the end of the day, she was evil incarnate and Satan's daughter. And you go to your mom. Mom, she used my curling iron. Mom would say, she is Satan's daughter. You are her sister. What does that make you? No help from there. Catholic Indians. Not a good combination. What'd you get?
Where your cursor is, would that also be for X?
That where the cursor should be -9. Should be -9 where the cursor is. I'll put the cursor right on top where it should be -9. You got -1? A nice number like that? Okay, she got -1. Let's see if somebody else matches it. So that's how we're going to check. You got -1 too? 2 out of 2? All right. We're getting -1 in here instead of 3. Okay, so here we should have -1. So you can redo the calculations with the -1. Let's do that so we can see the correct answer here instead of my erroneous answer, but I'm going to still graph the erroneous answer so you can see what happens when you do the graphing and how you should use that, because some of you get the incorrect answer and you think, well, maybe she won't notice, and I'll just put yes, it's the correct answer. Don't do that. Say, I got the incorrect answer, and I'll show you how to quickly find out where you have to correct your mistake. I do notice. Okay, so I have this incorrect answer that 3 should be a -1. So if the 3 is a -1, I can actually do this part pretty quickly. We should get y is equal to, did you get -1 or +1? Minus x plus 6. Minus 1 plus 7/2 as your line. And that should be 9/2. Oh wait, minus 2/2, 5/2. So you should get minus x plus 5/2. Now I'm terrible with numbers, so double check my work. Make sure that I'm correct. Don't trust me. Okay, so I got 3x plus 13 over 2 as my incorrect answer. Let me show you what happens when you graph these both on Mathway and you see, or Desmos, it doesn't matter, and see what happens. If the internet works. All right, here we go. Come on. Come on, Nellie. There we go. Can anybody give me the original function? Did anybody write down the original function that we started out with? 3x squared plus
2x squared minus 5x over x squared plus 1.
minus 5x?
Yeah.
That was the numerator. And then the denominator was x squared plus 1, right? Is that correct? Okay, and the tangent line, the wrong tangent line I got was 3x plus 13/2. This is the funniest lecture I ever gave. Jeez. Okay, so here's what happened in the morning class. We saw this. I'm going through it. They're really quiet. They're not like that. They're super quiet. And they're watching this, and I get to this point, I know I've made a mistake. Because that line does not look like a tangent line at -1. So what can I tell by looking at that line where I made my error? I know I made the error in the derivative. I know right away I made the error in the derivative. How do I know that? Which way is my line supposed to lean if it was the tangent line at -1? It should be more straight, like it should be steeper than what I have, and it should be leaning to the left, correct? Your left. Do you see that? And this is leaning to the right. If it's not even leaning in the right direction, that tells me that the problem or the error I made was in the derivative, because that's the slope. So I have an error in my slope, not the y-intercept. If it was leaning in the right direction and then misplaced, then it was something to do with the algebra at the y minus y1 times m times, at that portion. It was the b that was incorrect, and the slope was correct. So here I can tell my derivative is incorrect, which is really annoying, because that means I have to unravel backward in time back to the derivative where that error went. If it was the y minus y1 part, it would be better, because that means the derivative was okay, and I just have to go clean up my algebra on the y minus y1 part. But I have to unravel everything. I found the error in about 2 seconds, because I knew where to look. I went back to the derivative, and I said something's wrong with the derivative. Did I plug in the -1 incorrectly? No, it didn't look like it. So then it had to be the taking of the derivative. And I was so careful. And then I saw it. It was a transcription error. So that's how you can find it. And I found it in like 5 seconds. So I'm sure that once you know where to look, you can hunt back and find your error too. So let's put the correct line down. We got what is hopefully correct. Minus x plus, what did I say it was? Louder, guys. 5 over 2. That looks right. The green looks right. You see that? Much better. It looks like a tangent line at x equals -1. Okay, so that's the first one.